Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal Public Affairs program. I'm Jerry Williams. Well, the Engaging Heaven Church held their first service after the collapse of their church building at Garde Arts Center. I was in attendance, and that's where I caught up with the executive director of the venue, Steve Siegel. But first up, you're going to hear from Pastor Bob Nichols as he was speaking words of encouragement to the congregation. That's happening now on the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs.
We will not be shaken. We will see beauty from ashes. We will rebuild, and the future of our church and our city will rise stronger and more unified. The world has its eyes on us, small but mighty New London, and they are watching how we respond. What they will witness right before their eyes will be a miracle. We will unite as a church, we will unite as a city, and we will prove that there is more to New London than just a beautiful skyline. Within these streets, within these businesses, within these churches is an unwavering faith, a quiet strength, and a deep-rooted unity. We live in a world that is working so hard to divide us, urging us to focus on what we are against or on how much we disagree, rather than keeping our eyes on what we have in common. The desire to love and to be loved, to hope for the impossible, hand in hand with other dreamers and believers. We cannot give in. We must hold on to hope. Now is a sacred and powerful moment to prove the world wrong. This is a moment to prove that there is still good in the world. There is still faith in this world. There is still love in this world. History will tell the story of this moment.
Out and about with Jerry Williams. I am in the lobby of the Garde, and I'm speaking with Steve Siegel, executive director of the Garde. How you doing, Steve?
I'm tired because down the street, a block and a half away, one of the oldest buildings in the city just collapsed, and thank God no one was hurt. And then all hands on deck to help the congregation figure out what they wanted to do, and they wanted to hold a service 3 days later here at the theater. So we said, okay, let's do it, and it's turned out great.
So they called the Garde, or you guys reached out to them?
We did reach out to them, and then they called us back. We didn't know them. I met the pastor just a couple of days ago, and his great team. It's an amazing group of real good citizens of this region. Their commitment to the city equals, if not surpasses, their sense of loss and commitment to the building that they so love. So that's what's really impressed a lot of people, that they love the city that much.
And all of a sudden we're having a church service in the Garde.
Right, and we've had, during COVID, the first event, if you call it that, we had was a friend of ours who called us. She was actually our bartender, and she said she had a friend who was the music director for a church, and his wife died after years of fighting cancer, and it was COVID, and he wanted to know whether he could have a service. So we had a full funeral and religious memorial service with a band and everything. And I hate to use the word enjoy, but we feel honored to be able to bring a very, very diverse community. There's the city, and there's all these little towns that sometimes look down on the city, and these towns are literally 5 minutes away. And we really enjoy bringing people who don't hang together that much, but when they do here, they're reminded that they're all part of a bigger community. So we like making this their home. So whether it's to see, Kevin Hart, the symphony, or movies, this is equally as important. The most important people in the building, I think, are the ones who sit in the seats, not the ones on stage.
If you're just tuning in, I'm with Steve Siegel, Executive Director of the Garde. How long have you been Executive Director here?
I came here in 1988, so that's 34 years. I didn't expect I would be here. I thought at the time this theater wasn't restored. Didn't look like this lobby wasn't here at all. And I thought, well, I'll help raise some money and get the thing on its feet, and then I'll go to a bigger city, because I was used to bigger cities.
It's a beautiful building.
Oh, it really is. It was built in 1926. It was built by the studios of Hollywood, like all the buildings of that period. The studios were building giant movie palaces and vaudeville houses because they still had live events, like a variety act in between movies. And Warner Brothers bought this building 1 month before the stock market crash of 1929 for $1 million. So I don't know what the math is on that, but $1 million, and they bought 16 buildings in Connecticut and Massachusetts. That's how popular these places were. These theaters were the living rooms of the community. They didn't have television. They had radio. But other than church, this was the only place where they would convene together. And they'd see the news. There'd be newsreels, and they would just spend the day. Parents would drop off their kids, and so it was like a babysitter. But over time, with the development of technology, suburbs, the fear of cities, and just the technology the digital technology that allows entertainment to be streamed to your phone when you're all alone. Most of these places have been torn down in the United States. We're happy to be here. Obviously, there's some wonderful theaters in Connecticut. There's the Waterbury Palace, the Stamford Palace, the Schubert Theater. The Warner in Torrington. We're the ones that are left, and they're here because communities came together to say, no. You can globalize our economy. You can have everything directed from afar, but we want our own space. So that's why these spaces are so important. They're the last examples of a community controlling its own means of talking to each other. That's how we look at it.
So what's your background in theater?
Well, I grew up in Baltimore, musician. My early years, my father had great records, Al Jolson, these incredible violinists. I fell in love with the violin. I'm a violinist, by the way. And my father, who's a chemical engineer, had a hobby, which was community theater. And he helped found a theater called Center Stage in Baltimore, which is the state repertory theater of Maryland. So I grew up around adults pretending to be other people. So here I was as a kid, I was holding the script, following the lines and cueing them, and I would watch these adults pretend to be other people. And I saw how well-behaved adults were when they were pretending to be others. And I think something in me said, this is if I can help make this happen more often, maybe the adults in the world will be happier. And that environment was the middle of the Cuban Missile Crisis, when I saw that the adults were about to blow up the world, and my mother survived Hitler, and I always felt that by a fluke I'm alive if she hadn't escaped when she did. So I've always looked at theater as an antidote to human self-destruction. I don't talk about that a lot because I tell people I'm here to give you a diverse menu of wonderful entertainment, and so that you'll enjoy it, But that's we all have inner motivations that, like you do. I'm sure there's a reason you do what you do, and it comes from usually early experiences where we see a passion to make a difference in some way.
Well, God bless you. It's a wonderful gesture. Wonderful gesture that you're opening up the Garde's doors for this congregation, Engagement Heaven Church, also known as the EHC.
Yes, absolutely. And please come on down, check out the Garde's website. We have a very great mix of all kinds of entertainment for all ages. And it is a beautiful theater, as you saw. It's a Moroccan-style theater, totally restored to its original. And the staff loves to have new folks come to our theater and to our great city of New London.
God bless you. It was a pleasure meeting you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
And once again, that was Steve Siegel, Executive Director of Garde Arts Center. If you would like more information about what you heard today, call WIHS 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. I'm Jerry Williams for the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs.